Hour of naps. You know, I went home, took one. I woke up yesterday and like, whoa.
Oh, yeah. Look who it is. Julian's in the chat this morning. My
Yo,
man.
what up from down under? We've got news. Hey, Julian, how are those kangaroos hopping down there? And what time is it down there in Aussie land? You know, I've never been to Australia or New Zealand or that
I think
part of the world.
Julian was confused because of the time change here in America. He's been his comments have been showing up as legitimate comments in the YouTube section, not in the live stream. And he was just like, "What time is it over there?"
11 p.m. Wow, I'm impressed, Julian. You know, I'm an old man, you know, and so it's rare that I'm up till 11. I mean, I did, you know, close a few bars in LA not long ago, and I'm still paying for it. But I'm so old that when that Kiss tune comes on and I'm singing along, here's how I sing it. I want to rock and roll till 9 and party half of the day, you know. But in any case, welcome back, everybody. Here we are. You know, we lots to talk about as always. And I guess where I want to begin is, you know, Mike showed me an extraordinary video of Nicole Shanahan. That is RFK Jr.'s vice presidential pick. Young woman, you know, half Chinese, half Caucasian, she says. And she is a tech entrepreneur who's been brought into the campaign by RFK. And her goal is she wants healthier Americans with solutions that actually work. And when she says it, you get the idea that she means it, and you get the idea that she has the intellectual resources and connections and passion and vision to help create a sense of a political world in which people can remain fully engaged with reality. And what do I mean by that? You know, I talked before last week about observing a fellow. He's not a young man; he's in his 50s, who is just filled with the political rage of our time. He's like an advertisement for Fox News, you know, and yet the life he lives is dissonant with that. He, you know, when he gives his white male rage talking points, he sounds one way. When he goes home to visit his mixed race daughter, he behaves another. And so here is a man that is filled with love for his family, intimately engaged with those close to him, has a sense of community with his family and that family's commitments, but yet his rhetoric is entirely bombastic and it's at odds with how he lives. And it comes to me that is the American experience right now, that our political rhetoric is detached from the reality of the lives we lead. And so along comes a woman like Nicole Shanahan, and she says, you know, what this campaign is about is sacred. Our health, our families, the land. We deserve a real a real sense of optimism. And I think she's right. You know, it's been a long time in the political world since we've had a candidate who could engage us at the level of hope and say, look, these are the existential realities of your place and time. These are the resources that I can bring to bear to harness them. These are the tools that are shaping the world in which you live. And I am willing to step into the intersection between these various matrices and help create a better world. And, you know, that's a wonderful thing to hear. And so what does she talk about? She talks about big tech. She talks about AI. She talks about social media. She talks about the environment. And she talks about her work in these various sectors and her attachment. When she talks about her attachment to the land, she almost sounds Native American in that way. But her sense that this campaign is about what is sacred comes as music to my ears. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to vote for her. I mean, I didn't even know who she was until this morning. Mike urged me to look at a video, and it was almost like falling in love. I mean, here is a complete political candidate for a new generation. And I think that's what we need, is a new generation of political leadership. You look, I mean, if anybody out there is excited, intellectually thrilled and emotionally satisfied about the Biden-Trump campaign, shoot us a note and tell me who your psychiatrist is and what meds you're on, because I want some of those meds. I mean, the bottom line, if you want to talk about Yeats's line about ignorant armies clashing by night, here we are. We've got Donald Trump, the canary in the coal mine, tweeting about our rage, and talking in almost in terms that are almost caricatures about the pain that many Americans feel. And then you've got Joe Biden, on the other hand, giving us the sort of neoclassical liberal claptrap that doesn't quite fit the opened wound that has become America. And so we watch these two candidates talk past the pain, and we watch the pain continue to swamp the country. You talk about the deaths of despair from Deaton and Coates. Here you've got Nicole Shanahan saying we need a new generation of leadership. We need a generation of leadership that understands the technology. We need a generation of leadership that understands the manner in which our being in the world is unfolding. And I don't want to sound like Martin Heidegger at a singles bar. What does that mean? Our being in the world is unfolding. I mean, we are situated in worlds that are defined by forces that are external to us. And one of the most significant of those forces is artificial intelligence. And the artificial intelligence has been harnessed to social media, and we are enmeshed, all of us, at least if you're on this stream, we are enmeshed, all of us, in a world that is being transformed by social media, that is being transformed by AI. I've talked before about the power of some of Mary Midgley's essays, an old Anglo-American philosopher who died at about the age of 100 and something or other not long ago, who asked whether classical liberalism, that is the notion of the individual versus society, had run its course, and whether it wasn't time for a new trope, a new metaphor, a new manner of expressing how it is we live together. And we are, in my view, at one of those moments in history and in time at which we need to come up with a new way to talk about politics, and that's going to come from a new generation. Now, will it be Nicole Shanahan? I have no idea. I really have no idea. But I do know that she's now emerged on the national stage with a candidate who is presenting a challenge to the politics of failure. That is the politics of Democrats versus Republicans. And at various points in American history, there are critical realignments of the political system because the parties that and the polarization that exists in a given time are unsustainable, unsuitable to match the emerging reality that is present and is becoming present in the world. So, Mike, show people the Nicole how to find the Nicole Shanahan link. It's only 9.5 minutes long. I'm not saying she's the best thing since sliced bread, but I am saying that she has both feet in the present world and a new generation's commitment to the unfolding of that present world in our political system.
Yeah, you can find the video that I was running in the background there on X. At the Chief Nerd posted it. It's about a 9-minute long video. Junior, yeah, she was crying. She was talking about her autistic child, or the process of learning that her child was autistic. So I guess that would answer your question as to why she was crying in the video. And I want to just pull this back over. Yeah, Norm, I think that what I really wanted to there are a couple of things about the announcement now that we haven't covered, and I'm sure that this is going to be news to you, but there was some sort of like land acknowledgement to a tribe during the RFK event yesterday, which is very much on that sort of woke progressive side of the aisle. So, this all exists within the context, okay, a land acknowledgement and then certain other things going on. But I think principally what I am drawn to by the video, and the reason I shared it with you, is because I recognized a certain reaction that I had to my own personal discovery of Vivek when just maybe 18 months ago or so. When
you developed your Ramaswamy crush.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
When you decided you wanted to bear Vivek's baby.
And it's
when you insisted that your wife serve Indian food every Wednesday night.
Yeah, I think that was
when you tried to curry favor with him, no pun intended.
get it, get it, get it. So what I'm drawn to about Nicole, just from the limited exposure here, is what occurs to me as someone who is young, entering the political arena, and has the ability to shift the paradigm and sort of chase the sort of corporatism, that the zeitgeist of liberal corporatism away in an effective way, in the same way that Vivek would have done from the other side of the aisle, right?
Mhm.
I grew up on a Democrat Party that was known for more classical liberalism, and the version of that that is made manifest in modern politics is no different from the Republican or conservative coalition that sat atop sort of that corporatism that was known for crony capitalism, et cetera. The mechanisms are just different, right? The mechanisms of corporate liberalism is DEI, whereas the mechanisms of corporate conservatism was, foreign entanglements and war and certain things along that front. So, but what I think that she's recognizing, and what I can recognize in her, is a certain skill set or talent stack that is equipped sufficient to adequately define the problems of things like artificial intelligence. She mentions in this video, Norm, and I don't know if you caught this, but the notion of computational ethics, right?
Yeah, the very important issue. Um,
And I'm very interested in learning more about that. And so I think from a more broader perspective, I think that RFK as a candidate has his shortcomings from my personal perspective on certain policy issues, namely,
Hi, my name's RFK Jr. The spectrum matters. I'm on it. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and namely, his view on the Second Amendment, and wanting more restriction on that, and then certain of these woke, more woke or DEI led policy initiatives. But what I recognize in Nicole as a VP pick is that she clearly has an impetus for battling the emerging public health state, which we talk about on this stream all the time, right? Buying through mass large scale pharmaceutical companies, and then also the ability to adequately appraise and define the problems of a complete lack of computational ethics within the development of artificial intelligence. And so I'm
Let's talk
interested.
briefly. Yeah, let's talk briefly about computational ethics because some people, we don't talk about AI regularly. We talk about it enough so that if you're a long-term listener, you may understand that. But what is artificial intelligence? That is computational recognition and solution of problems related to human flourishing. And so AI is developed by way of programs and by way of machine learning. And there are algorithms or equations that more or less point the energy that AI brings to a problem to a specific location. The question of and there is a fear of general or advanced artificial intelligence, or surpassing human intelligence. In other words, acquiring, as it were, a mind and or a will of its own. And there are lots of philosophic issues about how that can happen and whether it's possible. But the problem of computational ethics is designing the algorithm so that both the intended and unintended consequences of AI are aligned with human flourishing. And thus, at this point, at least in the development of AI and in the development of the world, it's not enough to say to the machine, give us the most efficient method of generating paper clips, a famous example used in one of Max Tegmark's book. I think it's Life 2.0 or maybe 3.0. But rather, the issue is design the best and most, design as many paper clips efficaciously as you can, consistent with human flourishing, whatever that means. And thus, behind every artificial intelligence programming decision are the most profound questions of distributive justice and equity embedded in the classic works of political philosophy. And the concern about the lack of computational ethics right now is that in the race to widgetry, that is, in the race to market, people are unleashing onto the world these enormous computational devices without regard to human flourishing. And so I think the computational ethics issue is the intersection of humanism, that is a robust and thoughtful view of human flourishing, with the advanced power of artificial intelligence. And it is so refreshing to see a candidate for national office realize that that is mission critical if we are to have a good society.
Truly, and we can't overlook the fact that this ticket is is the consequence of the DNC pushing RFK out, right?
Yeah.
They pushed him into exile this election cycle, and this is a consequence to the DNC. Now, my question remains. I think that this is a compelling combination. It's a compelling ticket for those undecided voters that lean to the left, the modern left, not the historical left. But from my perspective, I think younger people will be drawn to this ticket because of Kennedy's name. And philandering notwithstanding, and any questions as to whether there's a romantic relationship underlying this selection.
Oh, I mean, I got to admit, I'm a male pig. And Dawn McNeil says, looks like she's got the male vote. And of course, there's Junior Coltrane saying, definitely not. I mean, apparently she's Irish Chinese. And, the opportunities for stand-up comedy are just overwhelming. I mean, does she like, little men with egg, does she like men with little dicks and egg rolls? I mean, I don't know. But Dawn, come on. I mean, seriously, you're going to play the woman card here and say, oh, you're only like her because she's a woman. I mean, get your pickleball paddle out and go work out that excessive estrogen that you've got there this morning, that estrogen storm. I mean, don't we aspire to a post-identity world? Are we going to always judge a person by the sum of their parts? Or are we going to say that there is such a thing as mind, there is such a thing as emotion, there is such a thing as spirit, there is such a thing as intelligence, and we host it? And isn't that really the challenge, Dawn? So I'm asking you to be bigger than your ovaries today. Put that pickleball paddle aside and be open to what she has, because Dawn, she's speaking to you, dear.
Mari says that she has the Bud Light vote, which is probably correct. And Thinking Man says this. Thinking Man says, if Norm could get Trump to understand what he just said about AI, it's very important. And I couldn't agree more with Thinking Man. I'd love for someone in the Trump campaign to listen to the stream, and in particular on your thoughts about artificial intelligence, Norm, in the future.
Yeah, and freedom lover, it's a great point. 1 9-minute speech can't be all that. You're right. I haven't fallen for her. Dawn, I'm not gushing. What I am doing, though, is responding. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Dawn, you're right. I'm a male pig. Norm can't take a joke. He's the one who comments on women all the time. And I'm a guy. What do you want me to pretend to be? A Robotron? Beep, that does not compute. I mean, what you'll get here is at least some honesty, and you're not going to get coded language.
Yeah, so let's put some punctuation on this. Do you think, because the widespread consensus right now is that this development is to the benefit of Trump, but I'm not convinced of that. What do you think, Norm?
I'm still responding to the criticism that 1 9-minute video can't be all that. So I'm going to answer that question in the context of responding to Freedom Lover's question. It's not all that, Freedom Lover. What I'm struck with, though, is what I've mentioned before, the cognitive dissonance. That is the distance between how people speak about politics and how they live. And I am looking for a candidate who can bridge that gap. Heather Shanahan shows that she's aware of the gap.
Cole, damn it.
Yes. Well, I can't even remember her name. Geriatric fool that I am.
Nicole, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Nicole Shanahan. Nicole Shanahan is at least offering an opportunity to have that discussion. And for that reason, the video made her seem like a welcoming person. Well, and Dawn, I will overcome my parts. Thank you.
The question remains. I mean, is this to the benefit? So assuming I think RFK is polling at about 12% right now, right? And so the question that remains, will he endorse Biden? And I still think that he's going to endorse Biden. No matter what's going on, I still think that he's going to endorse Biden. And the question is whether if he hardens this group of sort of outliers or undecideds or whatever, this is election defining development, in my opinion. I don't think that the Biden administration or his campaign has the tools or the competency or even the appetite to pull in the type of sort of like very refined view on these sorts of issues. I just don't think it does. But I also don't think that the hardened base of voters for Biden really give a damn about this kind of stuff. But there's a large number of younger people who will be casting their vote in the fall that do. And for that reason, whichever of Trump or Biden, to me, this is election defining. I think that whomever the endorsement comes from, if they are able to actually follow through and convert the votes of this undecided that is wrapping itself around this duo, that's who will win the election in the fall.
Maybe. It seems to me, I mean, the thought occurs to me as we talk, she's so much more appealing a vice presidential candidate than Kamala Harris, although she's quite a bit younger and doesn't have the experience that Kamala does. So, let's just take a look at her. Let's not enthuse. I'm aware of the criticism of others. 1 9-minute video can't be all that. I'm simply urging folks you to take a look at it and ask yourself when you get up tomorrow morning, who would you rather have offering to solve your personal problems? Donald Trump, Joe Biden, or somebody like Nicole Shanahan?
Yeah.
I'd be more inclined to go to Nicole Shanahan. So.
And the cloud makes this point. In the cloud says she is likely someone who can write more than 5 lines of code herself and therefore may actually understand the challenges at the root.
Good point. So the United States Supreme Court needs protection, and I think that's probably true. Story this morning says the court's seeking $19.5 million in federal fund to supplement protection of justice. And the reason for that is people are threatening the justices. You'll recall not long ago when the yet as unsolved mystery, or the yet as of yet unsolved mystery of who released the preliminary decision in the abortion case. And what was the name of the case again? Yeah, Dobbs versus Women's Health. We still don't know who released that decision or the results or the vote in advance, but somebody did, and all hell broke loose. There were protests outside the justice's homes, rather their personal homes. One man was arrested because he planned to assassinate a justice, and so the scab was ripped off the American body politic, and out oozed all this toxin, and people were sweeping to do violence to justices. Are the justices entitled to better protection? I would think the answer is indisputably yes. We ask a lot of Supreme Court justices. We ask them to sit atop the judicial pyramid and make decisions that define the metes and bounds of public authority, define what is possible to occur in our lives together. And many people are rubbed raw, no pun intended, by the way those decisions get made. And justices then become the target of passion and sometimes deadly passion. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I mean, I don't think our times today are as nearly as violent as many people do. We haven't had a political assassination in quite some time. When I was growing up, John F. Kennedy was killed, Martin Luther King was killed, Malcolm X was killed, Kennedy was killed, and it seemed to me that murderous rage was part and parcel of the American experience. As I've grown older and had a chance to make a study of American history, I see that raw violence and tarring and feathering people, civil war, labor unrest, bombing. You think of the Haymarket bombing in the 1880s, the violence of the Weather Underground in the 1770s or 1970s, excuse me, where there were bombings every day, almost, sometimes multiple bombings per day around the country. Now we wet ourselves when somebody says the N-word on social media, and it's like, oh my God, and yet we're consumed with rage. But yet, as terms of actual violence, we don't have that much. I can't account for that, and I'm not encouraging it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go out and assassinate today, quickly. Coming soon to a store near you.
Well,
but what I am,
don't necessarily think I don't think that makes the point that you think it does, because there are widespread murmurs of intelligence agencies' roles in many of the respective examples that you just cited, right? MLK, JFK, etc. Right? So the counter to that norm would be that human behavior and human instinct has not necessarily changed, but the mechanisms by which lynchings or assassinations occur has changed forms, right? So, and I say lynchings in specific reference to Justice Thomas's reference to high-tech lynching of him during his confirmation hearings for the Supreme Court seat that he's on right now, right? The nature of assassinations in modern America has completely changed with the advent and widespread and ubiquitous nature of social media and digital technology.
Yeah, but the point, good points. My point simply is go ahead and vote for the enhanced security. I think that, Many years ago, I was approached. I promised that I would tell you about my dinner with Sonia Sotomayor. And so let me tell you that story and about the lure of a federal judgeship, and about why it's important to protect them. So I used to argue a lot in the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit, is a court one step removed from the Supreme Court, maybe 10, 12 times a year. My firm had a very busy appellate practice there. My former partner, John Williams, filed a lot of briefs. I would argue them. And it was not uncommon to have Sonia Sotomayor on the three-judge panel. She's a fiery and fierce intellect. She wasn't the smartest judge on the panel. The smartest judge was and perhaps remains Amelia Kearse, a world-class bridge player. And if ever you wanted to know what the mouse felt like as the cat toyed with it and made a strategic decision about which limb it would tear off when, that's arguing in front of Amelia Kearse. And so surviving an argument was always a matter of intellectual courage and imagination. Sonia Sotomayor was a brilliant truck driver coming at you with her rig. And so she'd ask you a question and she'd load it up with hypotheticals. Counsel, if A, B, and C is the case, aren't you fucked? And, the challenge of arguing with her was to try to get her to see that A, B, and C didn't work. So, rather than answer her question, I one day sprang a counter hypothetical on her. Counsel, I'm not here to answer your questions. And so we moved on. A month later, I'm in the well of the Second Circuit of Court of Appeals. Again, a very august court, one of the most prestigious courts in the country. And without thinking, Sonia and I get into it. And she says the same thing. And I spring a counter hypothetical on her. And she tells me she's not here to answer my questions. And without thinking, I did say the following on the record in the United States Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit. Judge Sotomayor, this is the second time in as many months that we've had an impasse like this. When are you going to call me so we can have dinner and discuss our philosophic differences? Now, that's not what you're going to be advised to do in your moot court classes in law school. That's not what is considered conventional appellate advocacy. People in the courtroom gasped. I said, my God, can you ever really just put a filter on what comes out of your mouth? This was back in the era of phone slips. I come back to my office 2 or so months later. And, and I told this story to friends, sort of proud of my audacious recklessness. And I come back to my office and there's a phone slip. Sonia Sotomayor with a New York area code on it. And I'm thinking, somebody's breaking it off on me. I'm going to call their bluff. I dial the phone and it's Sonia Sotomayor. And so she invites me to come and co-present at a class of hers on appellate advocacy at Columbia University, with none other than former Solicitor General and author and Harvard Law professor Charles Freed. And as always, I'm outclassed, but I go and I can't stop running my mouth. Before we have the class and dinner, however, we talk for a while, and she says, have you ever thought about becoming a federal judge? And I said, are you out of your mind? Who in the world would appoint me to a federal judge with my mouth and all the things I've done? How much do you know about me? And to my surprise, she knew quite a bit. She says, you've got a lot of support in New York. Your firm is, one of the more significant federal civil rights firms in New England. You've got support here in New York. You should check it out. And so I did. I met with one of the U.S. senators in Connecticut, then Senator Joe Lieberman. I discussed it with Dodd's office. Lieberman was open to it. Dodd's office was apparently not, or at least non-committal. I talked to a number of federal judges to see what they would think, and much to my gratification, people thought it might work. And then I thought, what would be the benefits of a federal judgeship? And I realized the benefit would be that your dedication for life would be to think of nothing other than how federal law fit together, how the Constitution, federal statutes, and such rules and cases as come before the court can best be made to speak in a consistent way to address human flourishing in the United States in the best manner possible by whatever interpretive means and methods possible. And so the independence of the federal judiciary, the fact that you're not tethered to a particular client, you're not tethered to a particular cause, but your only objective is to get the law right insofar as the law can be gotten right. That struck me as pure liberty. For any of a number of reasons, I chose not to pursue that path, but I've never forgotten the vision and sense of serenity that caused in me. And I'm grateful for the fact that we have an independent judiciary who, much like a priesthood, has temples, has places to go. And what they do is they decide the law by their own lights, in a system where there's reviews in any number of ways, appellate review, Supreme Court review, not with the guarantee that they'll get it right, but they'll make their best effort to do so. And so the notion that interference can be disturbed by an assassin's threat, The notion that anybody in that temple might be discomfited by the public passions of the moment, the notion that they might be in need of protection, all this strikes me powerfully. And my hope is that they will be given the protection they need to be truly independent, because the law is our expression of what we can do together to create expectations of a good life in a complex society. And we want the guardians of the law, those judges and justices who make decisions, to be truly independent, of the craziness that lurks within our society and frankly within each of us. And only by providing them with absolute security can we assure that the law will arrive at the best version of ourselves possible. So let's get that bill approved, folks. $19.5 million. Hell, you'd spend that on a long weekend with Zelensky. I mean, let's get that done.
Lawyer Will asks, Norm, any tips on drafting appellate briefs? I'm working on one now.
Yeah, so here is tip number one on the creative process for any practitioner, frankly, any professional. An appellate brief is, the first, so what is an appeal? An appeal is asking a higher court to review a decision or outcome of a lower court. And so the first issue is, first thing you need to do is what is the case about? And it helps to talk to a friend or a spouse if you have one, or a colleague. This is a case about X, Y, and Z. And put it in ordinary language. Then once you've understood the facts, meaning what the case is about, ask yourself how the law addresses it. And then ask yourself whether it's a good fit. Once you've done that, then you master the record and you select, meaning all the trial transcripts, the case law, the briefs that it's been filed and whatnot. And then think about it for a while. Ask yourself, what is your client's interest? What is it that you're thinking the lower court got wrong and why? And then make some notes. Sketch out your view of the issues, and then let it go. Go do something else. Go play ping pong, Donkey Kong, go for a walk, watch a sporting event, sleep, work on another case, and let the ideas come to you. I often say of briefs and appellate argument and even trial strategy that I don't think of these things. They think themselves for me. And so what you need to do is put the data in the hopper and let the hopper free to process it, and keep a notepad next to your bed. Any number of times in the middle of the night, I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. And then if I don't write it down, I wake up and I'm thinking, man, that was pretty cool, but I can't remember what it was. Do not neglect the power of the semi-conscious or unconscious mind to sculpt your issues. Appellate work is not taking a map and driving to a known destination. Appellate work is waking up in a jungle. Appellate work is waking up to the scents, sounds, and sights of a foreign land and saying, that's how I get from here to there. And that aha moment, that's good appellate writing.
Beautiful, Norm. Thank you for that. I hope Lawyer Will, let me check the chat over here. He hasn't said.
Lawyer Will saying, what the fuck did he just say? And Lawyer Will, that's the problem. You got to get from where you're at to where I just told you, and then the briefs will come. They really do. Every now and then, I'm sitting here writing.
Look, what about Don Allen's suggestion? Just have Chat GPT write it. That's also an
yeah. And you can mail in your law license and, and just become an automaton. Never forget for a moment that the genius of living is human creativity. And you are at your best at the knife edge. You are at your best at a moment of crisis. You are at your best in the making of a decision. When you are required to make a decision, you get out of the way, step back, and let the decision make itself for you. I'm often stunned as I write a brief. I didn't know where this stuff came from. The concept of an amanuensis, just being there for a spirit to move through you. That's not just poetic language. That is the language of the roiling mind working its way through an issue. So work the issues, let it work you. Keep your eye on the deadline and try to have some creative work done before it's due.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is sort of finding a place for your soul within the work, right? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I had an experience yesterday working on a client matter that was in principle the same experience, Norm. In my world, those more sophisticated purchasers of legal services tend to have opinions on what they need in a given scenario. They tend to want to project to you as counsel that I need this for this, or this happens, so I need this from you. And more times than not, those who have been there before are right. yesterday I had an experience where I was able to step back and recognize through the process that you just described that perhaps what the client actually needed wasn't what he said he needed or wanted. Rather, the situation defined getting from one place to another through a different path, right? Because it was a bit of a jungle. There was a bit of a gray area. And I was right, right? With immediate effect, the deliverable worked. That issue went away. I think I think the legal profession is, man, lousy with that kind of opportunity, to be honest with you. And there's nothing more gratifying to me, Norm, than those moments that you're describing.
Yeah,
Those
no, I think that's right. That's what people pay
insights,
it for.
revelations.
That's
Yeah.
what separates the men from the boys or the beasts from the kitty cats. Hey, Junior Coltrane, did I really say I would vote for that RFK VP over Trump? Ouch, that won't age well. No, what I said, Junior, is that Donald is the canary in the coal mine, and I'm tired of his rabid tweeting. Because and I'm not talking about his X supplements. I'm saying that what I'm noticing in our politics is a great dissonance, a great disconnect between the rhetoric that people are using and the reality of their lives. And therefore, I'm looking for candidates who can more adequately address the felt necessity of our times. And Nicole Shanahan caught my eye, and I'm willing to give her a second look. And that's all I'm saying. All right. Oh, Junior, it's
Yeah.
not all
Now it's a cop
Junior.
out, right?
Junior, it's not. Life isn't a game. It's a full contact sport. And when you look at life as all a joke, you're not taking your own life seriously. Junior, personal challenge: abide within yourself and ask yourself what it is you really want. Question: will you have the courage to go after it? Hey, so we've talked our way through the hour or the half an hour.
And I'm pissed because every time I want to bring up something, you filibuster me, Norm. You filibuster me, and I'm sick of it. So tomorrow we'll be talking about the inadequacies of the current chairperson of the Federal Trade Commission, one Lena Khan, and the modern labor pool's preoccupation with getting rid of such things as the non-compete. Buying through this spirit or this zeitgeist of learned helplessness that my generation needs to struggle through and conquer. I've seen a lot of this in the beer industry, and in fact, it was an article that I sent to you, Norm, that was coming from within the beer industry publications, talking about the deleterious effects on the macroeconomy of non-competes and how silly and unconstitutional they may be. Wholly incorrect. And I want us to take some time tomorrow morning, first and foremost, just to get at this and to talk about the spirit of what a non-compete is and the fact that you own your own labor. You don't get to walk into a problem and then argue about that being a problem when you had the ability to avoid the problem in the first place. You negotiate for your labor first. Anyway, that's just a preview.
Dawn, I see your note. The alienated intellectual elite are looking for an alternative to Trump so they can feel better about their self-image. They can deliver another Biden term to us rubes. Dawn, I love you. Move on. Okay. That's the whole point of Nicole Shanahan. There's something beyond the current impasse. And so I'm saying she's a potential gateway to get there. Let's give her a listen. Let's give her a look. And let's come back. And if you're in Bridgeport tonight, 7 p.m., Stress Factory, there's an open mic there. I intend to do some stand-up comedy because after all, as Junior would say, life is a joke. What I would say is humor is a window to the soul, and you either have one or you don't. And it always pays to look at your own, and stand-up comedy gives you a chance to look at the souls of others.
So
and
say that one more time, Norm. Where are you tonight and what time?
7 p.m., the Stress Factory in Bridgeport.
Awesome. Awesome. How many minutes are you going to be on?
Not long, it's 30 seconds. And, until the crowd boos me off the stage, 5 minutes or so,
Awesome.
because I'm still a baby. I'm trying to get that first 20-minute set. Anybody out there, give me that 20 minutes. I know in Atlanta, I'm being given 10 to 15. That will take place at the end of April. I'm told that once you get to 20-minute set, then maybe you can serve as an MC for other events and whatnot. So that would be the next stage in my career. And then on the Netflix, but that's going to take a year or so.
And I had something I wanted to say. And you went on Eric Hunley's show earlier this week, and that's set to publish today, right? You recorded an interview with him.
Yeah, we did about an hour. Eric was wonderful. He gave me this great introduction, and I was afraid to say anything for fear that I'd disprove it. So take a look at the Huntley interview. We'll post it. You can find it on his site, and you need to boost his site. You need to boost ours. You need to tell people to follow us on YouTube. And what's more, when you see somebody in the hallway and your paths cross and you want to tell them you care about them and you look forward to seeing them, you say, AMF Yo-Yo. Saifullah Khan tonight, 7 p.m. Bridgeport. Saifullah is a great guy, former client. He's been to almost every one of my performances at Mohegan Sun. He always turns up with this wonderful woman who seems to adore him. And I have to ask her, what do you see in him? Because I'm missing it. See you tonight, Saif. AMF Yo-Yo.
AMF Yo-Yo. We'll be back tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. right here on YouTube at LawPod Daily. Please share far and wide and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. And then maybe leave a comment on this video. Say something. Say hashtag AMF Yo-Yo. That's what we want.
Yeah, that's right. Let's start salting the internet. Hashtag AMF Yo-Yo. People will ask you what it means. You'll tell them they got to listen to us. And before you know it, we'll have more followers than Donald Trump.
Oh, man. All right, Norm. See you tomorrow. AMF Yo-Yo. AMF Yo-Yo, everybody. Thank you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.
Ciao.